Join us on Patreon and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone.
There is a unique rhythm to time in the highlands of Ethiopia. When the rest of the world marks New Year's Day in January and counts the years as 2025, Ethiopians celebrate theirs in September, embracing a calendar that places them not in the 21st century, but in 2017. This temporal distinction is more than an oddity. It is a symbol of cultural endurance, theological conviction, and historical sovereignty. In an era where the world races toward uniformity, Ethiopia proudly lives in its own time, literally. The Ethiopian calendar, curious and captivating system, is not a mistake nor a miscalculation. It is, in fact, a testimony to a civilization that chose its own celestial path, charting time according to ancient traditions that trace their origins to early Christianity, astronomical logic, and deep-rooted resistance to colonial impositions. And while it may be 7 years behind, to many Ethiopians, it is spiritually ahead. To understand the origins of the Ethiopian calendar, one must journey back not just through the sands of time, but through the layered interweavings of religion, astronomy, and historical divergence. The Ethiopian calendar, or Guizi calendar, also known as the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church calendar, shares roots with the ancient Coptic calendar of Egypt, which itself was a direct descendant of the ancient Egyptian solar calendar, the oldest known calendar in human history. This system was designed to align closely with the solar cycle and agrarian seasons of the Nile Valley, a precision that made it highly practical and enduring. However, where the two systems began to diverge, and where Ethiopia took its own path, lies at the core of its unique temporal identity. At the heart of the Ethiopian calendar's deviation from the Gregorian calendar lies a critical disagreement over the dating of the Annunciation of Jesus Christ, the moment when the Archangel Gabriel informed the Virgin Mary of her divine pregnancy. The Roman Catholic Church, which later underpinned the Gregorian reform, dated the birth of Christ to what it believed was the year 1 AD, based on the calculations of the 6th century monk Dionysius Exiguus. His estimation, though intended to fix Easter's date and harmonize calendars across Christendom, mistakenly overlooked several historical and biblical references, including the death of King Herod, which likely occurred 4 years before the date Dionysius assigned to Christ's birth. Ethiopian scholars, however, following the theological and astronomical systems preserved in the early Alexandrian Church and influenced by Jewish calendar traditions, dated the Annunciation, and hence the Incarnation, differently. According to the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, Jesus was born in what is now regarded as 7 or 8 years later than the Gregorian calendar claims. Therefore, when the Western world counts the year 2025, Ethiopia, adhering to its own ancient calculation, counts 2017 or 2018. This is not an error of mathematics, but a result of spiritual fidelity to a different interpretation of sacred chronology. The Ethiopian calendar also differs in structure. It consists of 13 months, 12 months of 30 days, each in a 13th month, Pagium, which contains 5 days in a common year and 6 days in a leap year. This 13-month system ensures greater symmetry and consistency, especially when compared to the Gregorian calendar, whose months vary in length and require complex adjustments such as leap years to maintain alignment with the solar cycle. For Ethiopians, this clean division is not only mathematical but cosmological, reflecting the orderliness of divine creation. What makes Ethiopia's calendrical defiance even more remarkable is its survival. In a continent that underwent centuries of colonial domination, forced religious conversion, and Western cultural imposition, Ethiopia stood as a beacon of independence. Famously, it was never colonized, aside from a brief Italian occupation between 1936 and 1941. This political independence allowed it to preserve its own timekeeping system, religious practices, and linguistic traditions without succumbing to European standardization. As the Gregorian calendar swept across the globe through colonialism, commerce, and international agreements, Ethiopia resisted, holding fast to its calendar as a form of cultural sovereignty. Yet the Ethiopian calendar is more than a political statement. It is profoundly spiritual. Time, in the Ethiopian Orthodox tradition, is not just a linear sequence of days, but a sacred cycle intimately tied to liturgy, fasting seasons, and feasts of saints. The liturgical calendar governs much of life in rural and urban Ethiopia alike, shaping agricultural patterns, communal gatherings, and religious observance. Each day carries spiritual significance. For example, New Year's Day, or Enunciation, falls on Mescharim 1, September 11th or 12 in the Gregorian calendar, marking not only the start of a new year, but also symbolizing renewal and divine blessing. The name Enunciation itself means gift of jewels, a reference to the biblical Queen of Sheba's return from her visit to King Solomon, when she was welcomed with precious treasures, again, linking the Ethiopian passage of time to scriptural memory. Moreover, the Ethiopian calendar preserves a vision of time that resists the anxiety-inducing urgency of the modern world. While the global clock insists on acceleration, deadlines, and constant progress, Ethiopia's spiritual clock suggests contemplation, repetition, and rhythm. Its adherence to ancient festivals, fasting periods, and cosmic harmony offers a different approach to time, less as a commodity and more as a divine gift. In this sense, the calendar is not merely behind. It is rooted, deliberate, and spiritually ahead. There is also an element of prophetic hope embedded in Ethiopia's time. Many Ethiopian Orthodox Christians believe that their calendar retains the sacred integrity lost in Western reforms. The extra years, rather than representing backwardness, symbolize a spiritual buffer, an extended season of grace before the apocalyptic fulfillment of time. In apocalyptic literature, especially in Eastern Orthodox and Ethiopian traditions, time is seen as both finite and sacred. The delay in the calendar is not a delay in truth, but a merciful extension, allowing humanity further time for repentance and alignment with God's will. As Ethiopia modernizes, embracing digital technology and economic development, its calendar still commands respect. Official government communications, school schedules, and religious observances all follow the Ethiopian calendar, though the Gregorian system is used for international affairs and business. In rural areas, many people may not even know their age in Gregorian terms. To them, it is the Ethiopian year that defines reality. Births, deaths, marriages, and memories are all marked in its sacred rhythm. Thus, to say that Ethiopia is 7 years behind is to speak only in Western temporal terms. Spiritually, culturally, and historically, Ethiopia is walking to the beat of a different, perhaps divinely ordained drum. It is not merely clinging to the past, but living in a sacred present that honors the ancient without dismissing the modern. Time in Ethiopia is not just counted, it is experienced, celebrated, and sanctified. In a world increasingly obsessed with speed, synchronization, and uniformity, the Ethiopian calendar is a remarkable reminder that time need not be universal to be true. It speaks to the resilience of a people who refuse to be measured by foreign clocks, who kept their own time not only on paper, but in the soul. And maybe, just maybe, in choosing to live 7 years behind, Ethiopia has found a way to stay spiritually ahead.